Okay, so reviewing what we've done so far, the first thing with linear measurement is metric system. When you have the metric system, you often have decimals. And that's because it's a base 10 system. It works great with our numbers. You don't have to write down base 10 system. But decimals is super important because that way you know whether you're doing it right or wrong. You shouldn't have fractions. And yes, sometimes I see students trying to make up fractions. Don't. You just have decimals. We have a prefix along with the base unit. Okay. With our base unit, because we're measuring length, it's going to be meters. But we're going to get to the other ones, which are what? Gram for measuring mass, and liter for measuring volume. Okay, and we will get to those. But for our prefix, the main ones that you need to know are kilo, right? Then we have our base. Well, there's a couple lines in there, but then we have our base. Then we have centi, and then we have milli. Okay? Those are the main ones we should all be familiar with. Okay? And when we're going down, we multiply by 10 for each step, and you'll have access to the staircase on your project. Okay? And when we go up, we divide by 10. Okay? So that's kind of a quick little review of what we've done. And so what that does, every time we divide or multiply by 10, it takes our decimal, and if we're dividing by 10, we move our decimal in this direction when we divide. And we take our decimal and we move it in this direction when we multiply. Okay? So the whole thing when we're doing this is simply causing us to move our decimal. Okay? So when you're looking into numbers and comparing them, you should be able to see if they're accurate with the different units. All right. I'll give you a second to catch up. So then our other system, what do we call that one? Do you guys remember? Imperial. Okay. Yeah, exactly. And the reason why they call it imperial is because it started in the UK where they have kings and queens, right? Okay. So with the imperial system, it is fraction based. Okay, so you're going to get fractions when you have less than an inch. And that was our focus yesterday. Okay. So when you get less than an inch, you're going to get fractions. And what fraction do you always start with? 16. Only if you have 16 equal parts in an inch. Okay, so 16 parts or lines in an inch. So if you pick up some ruler and there's only like 8 lines, then it's out of 8. If there's only 4 lines, it's out of 4. Most of the standard rulers and measuring tapes you're going to find, it'll be 16s. Okay, I won't give you any, I won't challenge you on anything else in here. Okay, for the fractions, we sometimes have to reduce if what? What do we look for with the numbers? If you have 2 even numbers. Exactly. And sometimes you divide by 4, 6, or 8, but no, the one that always works is you simply divide by 2. Okay, and you can do it multiple times then. Okay, so you can divide by 2, as much as it takes. Okay. Any questions so far? Okay. So that's the big focus. Okay. So that's when you're measuring inches. From inches, you can then measure a foot. Okay. And a foot, do you guys know how many inches are in a foot? 12. So that's the common one we should know. And then from a foot, you go a little bit larger and you get a yard. Okay. Do you guys know how many feet are in a yard? Nope, 3 feet. Okay. And you'll be able to look this up. Don't worry about that. Like, you're going to be giving you conversion charts. Okay. And then we have a mile. Do you guys know how many yards are in a mile? I believe it's 1760. Let me just double check. I'll go right back to this. I just got to look. I don't want to get that wrong. Yeah, 1760. Okay, 1760. And so if you're going from here to, if you're going down, you would multiply by those numbers. And if you're going up, then you would divide by those numbers. Now, you're not technically supposed to have decimals then, but for us, I'm okay with that. Okay, I'm okay with you guys getting decimals for that. Regular grade 10, you'd have to convert it to like 3 feet, 2 yards and 1 foot, or 8 yards and 2 feet. Okay, you'd have to do a conversion backwards. I'm not concerned about with you guys. Okay, so give me the decimal for that. And so we're kind of cheating there, aren't we? Because you're not supposed to have decimals. Okay, with the imperial system, you're not supposed to have decimals, but I'll let you cheat because you're going to do Google conversions most of the time. Okay, and typically when you're doing a Google conversion, you just end up rounding it to your whole number, right? Okay, grade 11 though, then you change and then you convert back. Those are our big ones. All right. Any questions? So that's where we are. So now today what we're going to do, today you're going to see there's another difference. Okay? For your metric system, when you're adding, there's a difference between, so let's write that in the middle. Okay, let's write that in the middle. So kind of a sub-lesson for number 1 is what do you do when you're adding? What's the same for both of them? Well, for both of them, oh man, that's just horrible writing, Mr. Barker. I will change that. Sorry about that. Adding, there we go. When you're adding, the golden rule always is you must add the same, write it big, units. I cannot emphasize that enough. It must be the same units. So I can add inches to inches. I can add feet to feet. I can add yards to yards. But I can't add feet to yards unless I'm left with yards and feet. Okay, we'll talk about that, what we mean. Right. So some examples. Okay. If you have 5 centimeters, and so let's go 5.2 centimeters, and you add 3.8 centimeters, you could just use your calculator. That's the beauty thing about this, is you can just use your calculator and simply go 5.2 plus 3.8. Voila, 9 centimeters. And that would be 9.0. You don't have to have the 0.0. Either way is fine. Okay, but I could take my decimals and I can add them up, couldn't I? Okay. If you have 1.2 meters, and we saw this yesterday, actually 2 days ago, and you are adding 10 centimeters or 15 centimeters, you can't do it. Okay? What you have to do is you have to convert first. Either you convert both of them to centimeters and centimeters, or you convert both of them to meters and meters. Okay? Doesn't matter. Okay, so you choose which one do you want to convert. It does not matter. I'm going to choose Malik. Which one do you want to convert to, centimeters or meters? Meters. Okay. Alex, what do you want to convert to? Okay. Chase, what do you want to convert to? Okay. Nick, what do you want to convert to? Meters. Gabby, what do you want to convert to? Okay. Who's right, who's wrong? There is no right or wrong. Trick question. Okay. So you guys said meters first. That's fine. Let's convert to meters. This one's going to stay the same. So we rewrite it as 1.2 meters. Okay. And this one here, we would divide by 100. And that's because for meters, you then have dm or decimeters. And then you have centimeters. Okay. So you divide by 10, which is dividing by 100. And so you get 0.15 meters. Okay. So you go to your calculator and you go 15 divided by 100.15. Now you can add them up. Okay, so now you can add them up. Once the units are the same, easy peasy, lemon squeezy, go ahead. Okay, now I'm going to use my calculator. 1.2 plus 0.15, et voila, 1.35 meters. Okay, pretty simple. You guys okay with that? And that works with kilometers and meters, millimeters and centimeters. They all work. Units the same, add the decimals, right, Nick? Is that great? Think it's going to be as easy with the other system, the imperial system? No, of course not. Those Americans are annoying. Okay, so with the imperial system, if you have 4 yards and you're adding 8 feet, it's not going to work out that nicely. Okay, so you have a choice. You convert these all to feet and these all to, or these all to yards. Which one did you guys want to convert, feet or yards? You want to convert to feet? Sounds good. Okay, so converting to feet, the second one stays the same. It's already in feet. You'd add them up. From yards to feet, it's 3 is the conversion factor, and so you times by 3, so you get 12 feet. And that equals what? 20 feet. Okay? Pretty much the same, isn't it? 20 feet. Okay? But what if you convert to yards? Okay? If you convert to yards, now this is kind of like top end, like this is like honors for workplace. Okay? If you convert 8 feet, and you want to know how many yards that is, you would have it as a fraction out of 3. Okay? So if you had 8 over 3 as a fraction, how many whole groups of 3 could you take out? 2. So you could take out 2 groups of 3, which has a value of what? 2 times 3 is 6. So you're taking out 2 groups of 3, and what's the remainder? Yeah, 8 minus 6 is 2. So when you're converting this to yards, this actually equals 2 yards and 2 feet. Okay. So this whole number is the number of yards. This number is how many feet remain. That's the crazy part. So if we're adding it to the original of 4 yards, what would we have when we're done? 6 yards and 2 feet. We can't combine the feet inside. Okay, we can't combine the feet into the yards. We just leave it as 2 feet. And that's the more intense part of the imperial system, the hardest type of question. Okay. Any questions? I'll just show one more workplace honors question. Okay. So we're going to convert, let's convert 2,400 yards. And we want to know how many miles and how many yards remain. Because that's what they do, right? They convert that into a smaller number of miles and yards. You guys remember what the magic conversion factor is for yards into miles? I just said it earlier. We wrote it down. It's on your paper. Look for it. What is it? What's the conversion factor? I can't hear. The fans are a little loud. Say it louder. It's written down on our paper. We just did it up top. 1760. Okay? So what we're going to do then is do a fraction of 1760. Okay? And do our conversion. So 24, and I'll show you how to get the calculator to help you, over 1760. So we got to figure out how many, right? How many whole number of miles we have. Okay? So we go to our calculator. 2400 divided by 1760. So how many whole numbers do we have? 1. So we can take out 1 mile. Now we got to figure out our remainder. Okay, so if we remove 1 mile from the top, how many yards is that? What's the conversion factor? 1760. So when we're removing 1 mile, we're removing 1760. So we would take 2,400 minus 1760, and that's going to equal how many remain? If you can do that in your head, that's awesome. I can't. Because me no smart. 1760, 640. Okay, 640. So the answer then is 1 mile, 640 yards. Okay, 640 yards. Questions, comments, or concerns? Yeah, absolutely, Mr. Bird. Yeah, so you go out into the old prairies, right? So forget BC here. BC is a little bit different, but because where they have the flats, you can see it's all squares and rectangles. So Mr. Berg's totally right. They tried to make them all a mile, but in BC we got lots of rain, there's lots of ravines. So they did struggle with that a little bit here on the coast. And then, of course, in the interior, we have these things called mountains and huge, massive lakes. So we really failed at it. But you go into the flat part of Canada, which is where? The prairies. You look at the prairies here in Alberta, and they got a lot of it is drawn up mile by mile. But you go into Saskatchewan, holy dang. All right, let's zoom in here. It's all done up. I mean, this is a rough section, but it's like everything is done in sections. It's a quarter mile. So if you look at this big rectangle, like they all did it all by squares. All by squares all over the prairies. If you actually look at an aerial view of it, only if it's a summer view, you can see now. See all the squares? Those are all miles. Miles by miles. Okay? And that's one of the reasons why Saskatchewan roads are so crappy. because they got more roads than any province because they have all these side roads. So it's all like most of these roads are gravel except for the main ones. All these side roads into their house, into their land, it's all it's all gravel and so poorly maintained just due to the fact. See all the squares? I ain't lying to you. Those are mile by mile sections, quarter sections or sections. So sections is another name that they've developed for area of this land. Yeah. Always an excuse. Something kind of interesting, right? Like, I mean, he did this like hundreds of years ago with horses and trigonometry and workplace math. We're going to learn how they did this in trigonometry. They just surveyed all this land, thousands and thousands of acres. Even up here by the river, they kept them into squares as much as they could. Right? Now, I got a question for you guys. How come this square kind of looks rounded? What's going on with that? Why does this one kind of look rounded? Oh, come on, get out of your rocks. Nettie. Yes, there's a UFO landed there, guys. That's why it's rounded. Oh my God, you guys not been out of the city? What do farmers put on their fields? Yes, down at the Eco Dairy, they got one right by the highway. The thing that spins, it's called a center pivot. It's irrigation, right? So right in the middle, that's where they're getting the water from. You can even see the pipe going straight up, right? And it goes round and round and puts water on the fields. Yeah. If you actually go into the States, let's go into America, the Midwest. Here we go. I don't like Texas. Midwest, like Iowa, Nebraska. All right. Again, look at all the squares. They did their surveying as well. Where's Nebraska? Nebraska will probably have it really good. Nebraska. Oh, there's Woo. All right. These guys, here's the center pivot. You can see right there at the circle, right? There's a huge reservoir of water underneath all this land in the Midwest United States. The problem is they putting so much water on the land for agriculture, and it's not getting replenished. What happens then? No, we just had it here a 2 weeks ago. Starts with a D, ends with a route. Drought. Totally, right? So they're going to imagine all this agricultural land in the Midwest, all this land, all of a sudden doesn't get enough water, can't grow enough crops, can't feed people, can't feed the livestock. Something's got to give, right? So water management's a huge issue. There you go. So, interesting how we go from quarter sections into you guys, I'm sure your social teachers have done this. You guys know U3L? You guys studied him yet? Yeah. So when they went to chase him down, he was in this area here. And so what they did is they went up to Cypress Hills. Cypress Hills is a huge hills that are they're as high as the Rocky Mountains. Actually been there, super cool. I believe it's Fort Walsh. And here's the lookout point they used. Looking through the telescope, they found U3L. And that's how they went and headed up to where he was to capture him. Cypress Hills. Who's U3L? Oh my God. Don't call yourself Canadian if you don't know U3L. It's a major tragedy, massacre. You never heard of it, the Northwest Rebellion. Oh my gosh. And that's why, oh no, you guys are in grade 10? I think maybe you learn about it in grade 10. Oh, it's grade 9. See? There you go. Louis Sam, yeah, that's a different story. No, Louis Sam's different. Louis Sam was, that was here. That tragedy happened here. Yeah. Okay, so what we can do now is you can go to your booklet. We're supposed to have all this work done. And now part B. Okay, so let's look a little bit at part B. Doing one more example before I let you guys go. All right, here we go. So We use some combination of units, especially with our height. So Jan might say she is 5 feet, 10 inches tall. Okay. However, we want to know how tall is Jan in inches. So what we have to do is do a conversion. What you're going to do is convert the 5 feet and then add it to the 10 inches. So we have 5 feet times it by 12, we have 60 inches. So all we do is we take Jan's 5 feet and we want to figure out how many inches are in there. And you've already looked up here at your table and you said, oh, Mr. Barker, going from feet to inches, I times it by 12. And I say, yes, you're right. Like my student voice? It's pretty good. So you go back and you just take your number and you times it by 12. So we're going to write down here, where are we? Right here. We are going to write down 5 times 12. Right? And so that equals 60 inches. Okay? 60 inches. So we already have 10 inches as well. Now that you're in inches, you can add them up. Okay. And you get a total of 70 inches. So we can say she is 70 inches tall. And now you can decide whether she can go on the ride at the P&E. Right? Is it worth her going to Fright Night? Well, you need to know in how many inches. Okay. Sometimes that's kind of common. Any questions about converting? Yep, Ben? The 10 is she's 5'10" inches tall. Yeah. So I'm just taking this 10 now and adding it there because it's already there. Yeah, I got it from the table. It's a conversion factor. Okay. You want me to show you the table? Sorry, you must not have been looking when you're just too entertained by my student voice. Look, Ben, there's the number 12. Going from feet into inches, it tells you to multiply. I hope I didn't distract you with my voice again. Okay. I should change it? Yeah, I know. Yo, bro, we got this 12 here. You gotta multiply, take it to inches, bro. Okay? You're laughing because it's true. All right, any other questions you guys have about the conversions? No, that's a one-time thing. Okay? So you can see here, you got to convert yards all into feet, yards all into inches, and feet into inches. So part B is going to be tricky. Okay? Let's have a quick look at question number B. Question number B, you got 2 things to convert. You have 3 yards to convert into feet. Then you can convert them into inches. You also have 1 foot to convert into inches, and then you add them up for the grand total. Okay, so part B, 4B is a little bit more complicated. You got to convert each part, right? You got to convert the 3 yards and the 1 foot all into inches, then add them all up. All right, that's a little bit more challenging. Part D, you got to convert your miles into yards, your yards into feet, your feet into inches. So you got 3 conversions. Okay? Now, you can do part D 2 ways. Okay, so for part D, you can take 5 miles, convert it into yards, convert it into feet, convert that into inches. It's going to be a very large number. Then you can take your 16 yards, convert that into feet, convert that into inches, and then finally you can take your 2 feet and convert that into inches. And now that you have all 3 measurements in inches, what do you think you're going to have to do? Yeah. Once they're all into inches, then you can add them up. Now the other method, and this might be more complicated for you, I think, Alex. The other method is you convert your miles into yards, then you add them up. Then you convert your yards into feet, then you add them all up, and then you convert your feet into inches, and you'd have a total. So you can total it at the end or total it up as you go along. But that's definitely a higher level way of doing it. Okay? So I would recommend not doing that unless you know exactly what I just said. Otherwise, it'll probably be too much. Okay, it's easier to convert them all separately than add them up at the end. Questions, comments, concerns? Yeah, Ben. What is what? Add. Sorry. Good point there. Says, yo, bro, add, man. No, I'm not. Okay, any questions? Write down here for number 8, circumference equals pi times diameter. Okay, so you're going to go pi times the number. That'll give you your circumference. Okay, circumference equals pi times diameter. Okay. Write that down, Benson. Don't just stare at it. Okay, pi times diameter. Pi times diameter. Okay, these are a little bit more challenging questions. Gotta do your conversions. Number 9, you gotta convert your feet into inches. Whoops. Okay. And then add them all up for a grand total. Okay, you gotta be careful with number 9. And then here you're converting these. Write down the decimal values. Okay, that'll be easier for you for part C. Okay, part C, turn to 0.75, 2.75, 0.25, and 6.25. So you don't have to work with your fractions. Okay. Part C should be quite easy because it's just using your conversion factors from yesterday, which is in that square where I made the funny voice. Okay. The funny voice. Talk like Malik. Okay. You all good? To work?